Hi, why don't we'll go ahead and get started since we have a quorum, so. We all good? Excellent, all right. I'll call to order the Thursday, November 10th, 2022, open session of the North Andover Community Preservation Committee. Pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting will be conducted via in-person and via remote means. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 8, Verizon Channel 26, or online at www.northandovercam.org. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in the public meeting, please email your questions or comments prior to or during the meeting to cpcemails@northandoverma.gov. The question or comment will be provided to the committee before the meeting or read during the proceedings if received during or shortly before the meeting. And we actually have some emails today. So, but I guess we do have some members of the public who are here to speak, so we'll move to that first, and we can get to the emails afterwards so everyone can get on with their night. So. I don't know if either of you are here to offer public comment, but you're welcome to approach the podium. Just provide your name and address, and if you represent an organization, we'll be happy to hear what you have to say.
Hi, my name is Bob Zeba, lifelong resident of North Andover, 71 years, neighbor of Jack for years.
Okay. I believe we have an email from you as well.
And I do.
Yes.
So, I mean, are you going to take care of that email tonight?
Yeah, I can.
Not bring up any discussion I have?
You can do it now, or we can go to the email.
Well,
because we have an audience, I wanted you guys to be able to
Okay,
speak first, so, yeah.
I did send the email
Yeah,
to see if I get some questions answered.
sure.
During the COVID time and what's happening in the town of the land that's being used. I did notice and gone through the website, although hard to find in through the website, where this money's being spent.
Sure.
A couple of ideas I had that people on my street, my cohorts I play golf with, et cetera, had no clue that 3% of their taxes.
Oh, can you speak to the microphone, sorry?
3% of their taxes were being used to buy open space, take care of historical buildings, and to low-income housing, et cetera. They had no ideas. And I brought it up with them, and they said, maybe you should try to find out and dig a little deeper. My main concern is open space.
Sure.
I've been an open space guy for years, and Jack will attest to that. Sure. And I used a ton of open space in this town, and I'm seeing open space go to different organizations such as Greenbelt, trustees, the trustees right behind my home now, all of a sudden. And I'm just concerned about some of the other open spaces that are available to be used. And if, in my email, I did ask, one of the important topics was it's required that 10% be spent yearly for open space. And on your webpage, which I printed out, in the last 5, 6, 7 years, there's only been 1 year for 10%. And I know this was started for the...
Yeah, Gene, can you actually pull up that slide for me, too? Thank you. And John, feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, let me sort of speak. I don't know if you... I have been literally on this committee since the very beginning.
Okay.
And I will tell you, just off the top, that well over half of the money that we've raised and spent has been spent on open space over the last 22 years.
Is there any way to find it on the
Well,
on the webpage?
there is,
It's
and
so
I have
ambiguous and
an
so
old
hard for 70
spreadsheet. But let me sort of give you a little bit of the history here. The very first project that CPC did in the very beginning was Carter Hill. Are you?
I
yeah.
know.
Okay. And then after that, there was Half Mile Hill 1, Half Mile Hill 2,
Yep.
Sunny Ridge, Oostler, Windrush Farm, and Rolling Ridge, the Leonard Farm. I mean, so these
Now, wait
are...
a second. Leonard's Farm, I believe, which was just done, that's through Greenbelt.
No. That was our money. Greenbelt just holds. It's actually the.
It's Greenbelt.
Yeah. It's
Posted as Greenbelt now.
yeah, but it's we spent the money, you can walk that, we have a conservation restriction on the property, and that you can actually walk through the entire property. So it was a project that was funded by the town. Same thing with the Glenny Woodlot. They're all projects. So my point is, if you add up the money that was spent,
Okay,
well
I
over half
understand,
of
I
the money is
understand
spent in
now.
open space.
I understand.
And the other thing is, that category also includes recreation as well. So it's recreation and open space.
That's not in, I believe it's B44. Recreation is separate
No,
from
it's
open
part
space.
of it's in the
No,
10%.
I don't think it is.
No, it is, trust me, it is. It is. I've talked to the people at the state many times about that. I mean, it's recreation and open space is one category. See, what it used to be is at one time, you could only do recreation on land that was purchased through the CPC, but now you can do other things, but it's included
I
in.
think as I read it, you could maybe carry it, but it wasn't recreation. Recreation was one part of it, and open space was another.
Yeah, but it's under.
10% annually
there are
to be
three
spent for open
categories.
space.
There were three categories: open space and recreation, historical preservation.
Correct.
And so, yeah, you could call it differently, but my point is, the largest amount of money we've spent, far and away, has been on open space. It just has been. I mean, I know it.
Okay.
And then the next biggest chunk of money we've spent is probably recreation, third is historical, and fourth is affordable housing. And I think we can, I've been going back through my files, I just haven't had time to do it at work, because of work, to find the exact amount that we've appropriated every year since the very beginning. And I think when you look at that, you will see that the vast majority, the majority of the money has been spent on open space.
And that's where I'll direct the gentleman's attention to the slide that I have up on the screen right now. We actually went back and did this. At the 20th anniversary of CPC, we went back and looked at every single project and wanted to see where we were funding projects accordingly. And I think where, what John was commenting on is the 10% threshold. You can use open space or recreation to meet that 10%. It doesn't have to be both. And then 10% for historic and 10% affordable. And if you don't spend it on a project, if there's not a project that year, you hold it in reserve, where those dollars have to be held in reserve and spent in the future on that category. So there will always be that 10% threshold where the money is allocated
But
or
it
not.
says to spend it annually.
Correct. We hold it in reserve annually. But if there's no land to be purchased in a given year, we can't buy it. Right? We can't allocate funding for projects that don't come forward. We're not actively purchasing. This body recommends funding for the town to purchase when there's a purchase to be made or a conservation restriction to purchase. So if there is no project, that money is set aside and can only be spent on open space or recreation in the future. And the town has that all accounted for. John, did I misstate that? Yeah.
I mean, there only have been, because the 10% includes recreation, there's only been 1 or 2 years where
That we
we've
didn't
had
get
total
there, right.
reserve, but there have been other years where 75 to 80% of the money that was spent is in open space, would be a large open space.
Correct.
Yeah, well, if I go back through your records, it looks like 2010, I think, is the last time there was a large chunk purchased. Was that Windrush? Was that Windrush?
No, it's been further than that, because Windrush was.
Well, if that says open space in blue. and in
Correct.
17, you got a little bit of blue there on the bottom.
That's $325,000 was spent. And again, so what this chart shows is it shows the colors, right, for the various categories, and then that green line is actually how much funding there was that year, because some years you fund millions of dollars, others you fund only a few $100,000.
But if
So-
you draw a line against the percentage zeros, on your chart, it's not my chart.
Mm-hmm.
If you draw a line across that with a ruler,
What you'll find is that through the history of CPA, 28.6% of our funds has been spent on open space. 25% has been spent on
I
recreation.
can see that now with that back chart, because I wasn't
Yeah.
privy to that
Oh, sure.
back line before.
Yeah.
That wasn't on the webpage that I copied this one.
Yeah, this chart, a version of this chart is on the CPC website as a part of the 20th anniversary presentation. So, and this will be in the meeting packet and accessible to the public, so you're certainly welcome to look at it in that sense. So, but again, as I stressed, we're somewhat beholden to the projects that come available every year. The land has to be available to sale to
And I
to
saw on
purchase.
your
So,
last thing through Facebook, although I'm not allowed to be on Facebook, I'm uncensored, I guess. Point out loud.
I am not keeping you off Facebook. So,
No, pardon me?
I am not keeping you off Facebook, so.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
Okay.
saying I was told
All
I
right.
should never
All right.
be on Facebook.
Okay.
After a certain age, you become unfiltered. You can just say anything you'd like to say. However, the Facebook meeting stated that you people sent out a Facebook
Yeah,
item.
we sent social media notices about today's meeting, correct? Yep.
Today's meeting.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So I mean, so if you're advocating, saying, please make open space a bigger priority, we're open to that public comment. And I think, some of the questions you asked here was regarding the funding breakdown, which is what this chart shows. And I'd be happy to email it to you, so you
That'd be
have it.
fine.
I'd be
That'd be terrific.
happy to do that.
Yeah.
So, and you had some other questions, which I'm happy to address from your email regarding open space
That'd be fine.
specifically. There is supposed to be an open space member on this committee. The open space committee was disbanded in 2003, as you may or may not know. So that seat is appointed by the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, at this time. So, and you asked about, if we keep an inventory of parcels, and what I would refer you to is the town's open space and recreation master plan, which I think was the latest version is 2017, and it is
Yeah. I
being,
couldn't- I
16,
couldn't-
being reverted.
I couldn't find that through the webpage.
Okay, I will, in my email, I will send you the
Link
link to it as well. I'd be
Okay.
happy to.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
I couldn't find it.
Okay, yeah.
And like I said, my main concern was the open space
Sure.
and items. Because I've noticed that the parcel behind my home and Jack's old home has changed hands like 2 or 3 different times. And
I'm not sure which parts you're referring to.
there was the trustees, I believe, now own a large section behind Cotuit Street up into the Woodbridge area.
Okay.
That goes all the way up through 125, if I'm not mistaken. It's just been,
Well, they've always owned that.
I thought it was owned by the Catholic Church after the, I was told, I was, go
I'm
ahead.
not sure where the boundary lines are, but I know the area up by
Ipswich
Kelly,
Street.
or the roast beef place. Yeah, Harrison's Roast Beef. That field next to there goes all the way down to Waverly Road, and it does go, I would say, westward toward Cotuit Street. and I
Correct.
don't- And past the.
No, it doesn't go
the-
past this Ipswich.
Doesn't go
There's
past
a-
the cer- the
There's a,
ter-
there's
the
a,
cemetery?
might go behind the cemetery, but there's a dry street in there, Ipswich Street,
Yeah,
a paper street they call them.
yeah.
That at one time the Burkes owned every inside of the Ipswich Street boundary that connected the apartment buildings. And the other parcel,
It's contiguous with the parcel behind our old houses.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was thinking the ownership didn't go to trustees when I lived there, but it may have converted to there since then, I don't know,
It's all posted as that now,
as trustees.
as trustee land. all
And
the way-
that's okay. I mean, the trustees' land is open to the public, right? So in achieving open space goals, I mean, CPA alone has, I think, protected near more than 500 acres, almost 600 acres in the time that we've been doing that. But there are other vehicles to do that, whether it's the trustees or the Trust for Public Land. And there's been all kinds of avenues to protect open space within the town.
Okay,
Not
thank-
solely CPA.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Bob.
Who'd like to go next?
Hi. Ellen Murphy, Great Pond Road. So I guess I'm here wondering if you ever consider helping private citizens with historical things in town.
Can I ask you to hold on for 1 second? Could you reflect in the meetings that Tracy Watson, the minutes that Tracy Watson joined the meeting at 7:05? Sorry, Tracy, sorry on there. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I
It's-
didn't want to interrupt
No,
anyone. Thank
quite,
you, though.
quite all right. Sorry, so in terms of helping a private owner, in what kind of example?
My husband and I are in the process of moving a house that now is situated at 136 Salem Street to 170 Salem Street.
Okay.
It is, we believe it's about an 1845 house. Just thought we'd ask if,
I guess the question would be, what is the public benefit that's served?
well, I guess I would say just preserving a house that's been in town for all these years.
But it'll be a privately owned house?
Yes, it would.
Not accessible to the public?
No.
I think that would be challenging from an allowability standpoint, I believe, but I'm not sure.
I think you can do it. The problem is, and I am so glad you're doing this, okay? So, but I'm just trying to say, I think the issue is the optics of it. That every historical project we've done to this point, I think, without any exception, has been either a government agency or a nonprofit.
Right.
And there's been a direct, and so that's the problem, it's a little bit different. I think there's ways over time to provide potential funding for projects like this, but it's not the kind of thing that can be done super fast,
Right.
unfortunately.
Okay.
But I understand where you're coming, I appreciate your dilemma, but as Brian said, it's like, ooh, where is there a direct public benefit other than the fact that the property is being preserved? You know, I would acknowledge it's pretty significant. I'd be glad to talk to you separately about some ways I think you can actually help do this.
Okay.
But, I think the problem with CPA is we go and we propose it, and people say, well, wait a second, where's the town benefit from something like this? So,
And we understand that. We just thought,
Sure.
You don't
We-
ask the question, you never know.
well, that's it.
Right.
That's it. So appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Sir?
Glenn O'Grady at 90 Penny Lane, North Andover. And
Welcome.
I just am here, again, to advocate for, using some funds for open space. We are fortunate to live right behind, the Ward Reservation, and there are a couple of private parcels that, are contiguous with that wetlands and the Scug River that I understand are now being looked at for sale. And, I think, again, given COVID, seeing all our neighbors using that property, taking the dogs for walks, going for walks, it's a beautiful space. And if we could expand that in, conjunction with the trustees of reservation, I think would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I do have a couple of quick emails, I think along a similar theme, which I'll read into the record. One received shortly before the meeting here from Mr. Ed Rabito. As a North Andover taxpayer, I'm concerned the committee is not purchasing sufficient land to be used as open space. Please consider this in future purposes. Continuing with the theme from Mr. Jack Danowski of Winter Street. Dear CPC Committee, with all the new development in town, I think it's time to invest in more open space. The last few years wasn't enough spending on protecting our town from overdevelopment. Our recreational space seems to be above and beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Please consider investing in our open spaces before it's all gone. And last but not least, this is from Susan Palesci. I apologize for mispronouncing that name. Good morning. I would like to send along my thoughts regarding a potential open land purchase the town may consider. I've been a resident at 66 Penny Lane, North Andover since 1993. My land abuts Stiles Road and the Ward Reservation. Through the years, I've witnessed the reservation expand their trails, signage, maps, etc. in a positive way for the community to explore and enjoy. I see regularly residents out walking, biking, horseback riding, moped riding, snowshoeing seasonally, sunset walks, etc., all out behind my home on Stiles Road leading to the trails. I would encourage you to consider expanding and protecting the access to these trails and open space for the community. There is a beautiful natural habitat out there, all sorts of birds and wildlife that live and thrive. In addition to all sorts of wildlife I see making their way to my yard, a special favorite is the turtle migration every summer. Numerous turtles walk through the wetlands, across Stiles Road, and onto my backyard to lay their eggs. With the pandemic, I was working from home and able to witness over 23 turtles in just one season lay their eggs in my yard and cross back over Stiles to the wetlands. And that's just how many I happen to observe. The protection of this natural land and the habitat of wildlife would be an invaluable asset to the town. And Jean, you don't have any other emails that have come in, correct? No. Okay, I think that is everything that we have. If there's no one else from a public comment standpoint, I thank you all for coming in and making your voices heard. We certainly appreciate it. So, okay. So, what's that? Oh, thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda, unless anyone has any comments on the open meeting portion. Okay, we'll close that and move to the next agenda, which is the signage program for CPC. Jack? let's,
Yes.
Check with you, see if we have for an update there.
Yeah, we have an update, for sure. I'll distribute this while I'm talking. What I'm sending along, is a list of the open spaces that were purchased by CPA over the course of the years, that we were considering for signage. And basically, I took this list and reviewed it with the folks, the PhoNet folks mostly, Friends of North Andover Trails, to see first where it would be good to put signage for these purchases, what type of sign would be most appropriate, and then, ideas on what else we could do to raise public awareness. And so what we did is we went down this list, we identified locations. Well, yeah, first of all, we looked at the signs that Rick had given me in the past. It's the ground-mounted sign, and then sort of the elevated sign, like a roadside sign.
I think the one on the right's like the Glenny Woodlot sign, correct?
Yes, exactly, the Glenny Woodlot sign. So we tried to look at these two signs and, what else might be appropriate. So the open space parcels that we looked at, that we saw some pretty obvious applications for, are listed there, and I've got sign type B, which is the Glenny Woodlot style sign. It's certainly the most popular one, and as we talked about it, it was the purpose of that type of sign would be kind of a roadside sign, so that as you're driving by, you can see CPA did something back here, similar to the Boxford signs that you see when you go through Boxford. So, and the Glenny Woodlot sign is exactly that. It's a very nice spot. It communicates a good message, and these are all the ones we identified with B. We think are good applications for that. We've got, I didn't put up one for Half Mile Hill Summit because Half Mile Hill and Half Mile Hill Summit, we have one logical sign for that I believe covers the two of them. That it wouldn't make sense to place one at the top of Half Mile Hill, right where that parcel is, because hikers would see it and they already know. So anyway, that was a good thing. Glenny Woodlot is done. Sunny Ridge, the Sunny Ridge parcel wasn't on the list. At least I couldn't find it. And I was wondering about that because it was a long time ago. It was probably like 2004.
So one of the earlier projects?
Yes.
Okay.
And it wasn't on there. So we wanted to include it. We have a good spot for a sign.
Okay.
It's actually an interior sign.
But we know that it is CPA funded?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And John actually even mentioned it earlier tonight.
I'll have to change my open space chart. Was that not on the big list? Okay.
Yeah, we started with the big list. So anyway,
Yeah.
we've got recommendations for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 signs, roadside type signs that we think would do pretty well to communicate our message. We have one now. Those are the open spaces. Now the third one down, kiosks, open space, I have listed as a placard. We've got 9 kiosks, which I listed down below, that we've installed, and they function, right in the open space. It helps direct trail walkers, how to navigate the trails, and the rules and everything like that. And so we felt that maybe get an engraved metal placard that we could affix to the kiosks themselves Interior, exterior, I think exterior is better because you change the interior from time to time and you don't want that obstructed. So we would go for probably 20 of those. You know, and you would have a verbiage similar to what we suggested. This feature was provided through Community Preservation Act funding. And the word feature we could substitute a better word in there, I think, for that, but.
So
it
Dawn's did have a placard that could go on the building, you know, if you wanted to stay with the same style with the PVC. They did provide a sample for that. I'm not sure if I gave you that, Jack.
No, these are the two I got.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I think I have another one, that is a placard that's meant to be like kind of mounted on a building or maybe even a
Yeah,
kiosk.
right, maybe for some of our historic projects, I think we
Yes.
had that in mind, yeah. Yeah.
So I'll send you that.
But it's PVC, you said?
Yeah, it's the extruded PVC, so it's the same, but again,
Yep.
if that's not appropriate for the kiosk, then certainly you could go with
I
something.
think it might not be, because these kiosks are prone to vandalism.
Okay.
You know, we've had a few of them pulled down, we put them back up and,
Yep.
and all that. We've had kiosks being burnt down too, the wooden ones. These are metal, so they don't get burnt down, but anyway, they'd get busted, I think.
Yep.
If they were plastic, so. And they wouldn't be very good, they wouldn't be as good against the sun either, so, they'd have more, so I'd prefer a metal, but we can discuss that later. So anyway, that was our thoughts on the kiosks.
Okay.
That would be another way to communicate that. And then we do have two bridges that were funded by CPA funds. Those two that I listed there, most recently the Usler Bridge, which we talked about not too long ago.
Right.
And then we had one down at the Sears Center, which is a very useful bridge. It's a bog bridge that maintains a continuous trail, a continuous loop trail on the Essex County Greenbelt Trail that goes
Right.
down, that's down there. Yeah, it is beautiful.
Is that the stretch that is the part of the Bay Circuit Trail?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, it is. So, I brought my maps. We do have them identified on maps, on maps that Glenn gave me. So we have specific locations. I can go into more detail if you like.
Matt, I think
You
this
know-
is terrific, so.
We'll try and get them on. In fact, what I'll do is I will put it on, I'll get it somehow electronically distributed to you guys so you know where they're going, so that the Friends of North Andover Trails aren't the only ones that with input. Yeah, I think it'd be great to move this thing forward and get the awareness that we need, because obviously from the comments tonight, we need awareness.
Absolutely right, absolutely. Jack, thank you so much for taking the lead on this. Do we have a budget in mind, in terms of what we think this will cost? We don't-
Not yet.
probably don't have science
No, not yet.
Okay.
I mean, first step would be to, talk to Dawn's.
Yeah.
Get the signs themselves, get a contractor, to estimate materials installation and then do it.
Great.
So,
Well, we have administrative funds available to, I think, fund this, and I know we're trying to put it in the future projects to have it as a part of it, but I did check with the Community Preservation at Oregon, and admin funds can be used for this, so.
okay.
So we'll be ready to go. This is great. Anyone have any questions for Jack on any of this?
What's next step? Recreation, that's another pretty visible one.
Yeah, I would say, really both recreation and historic. Historic may be a little bit more challenging in terms of where you're allowed to do things and whatnot, and I think we're hard to think of it, but recreation might be the next obvious one to do.
Yeah, recreation is kind of similar to the open space, and it's very, very connected. So maybe that will be a good next step for us once we get this thing rolling.
Yeah.
And then,
I'm not sure how we would promote affordable housing, some of the projects that we've done there. or where the best place for it to be visible would be. I don't know.
Yep.
But something to think about, for sure.
Yep. Maybe
Tr-
we'll-
Tracy, I'll ask you if you're still on. Do you have a sense of whether or not at least residents of any of the housing projects are aware that CPA dollars are supporting housing? Nope, you lost her. Okay.
Some of the recreation ones could be, the posts could be used and the signs could be just changed out to include information for CPA, like
Okay.
McAvoy.
Oh, yeah,
McAvoy has a sign,
yeah, nice one.
yeah. But if they wanted to, recognize it for CPA contributions, they could change out the sign, so the post could be reused.
Yeah,
And the playgrounds had their own sign package, which I think should all be
Yes.
up, and I think they were going on the fence. Tracy, there you are.
Yeah, no, I was here, I'm sorry, I was just waiting for Rick to finish. No, I mean, you know how I feel about signs, I mean, I've been a proponent from the beginning. I think we spend a lot of time on signs,
Okay?
and I think we should just get moving on them and, you
Yep.
know.
I think this is the most
Get 'em
meaningful
up?
project we had in a while. Yeah, okay. I was
Fine.
specifically questioning about affordable housing and if we promote that
Oh,
in any
I'm
way.
sorry,
Yeah.
I missed that, I'm sorry, say that again, though.
Whether or not you have a sense of whether or not the residents in any of the affordable housing are aware that CPA has funded some of that, or if there's a way that we should be promoting that. Or those are
Oh,
much
they
more for private.
absolutely do know for sure. Mostly because, Maggie Cleary, who is the executive director for the North Andover Housing Authority, she does do, newsletters and what have you. As you know, I'm a board of commissioner. And in the newsletters, every time that there's a new project that has been funded by community preservation, we make sure that it's very well promoted. I don't think the housing authority by any stretch would be adverse to, that's something we might want to look at, like a long running list of in the main office of projects that have been funded by community preservation and by the generosity of the town of North Andover or what have you. And I mean, we could talk about that further, to have something in like the main office that lets everyone know. But public housing residents certainly know for sure that community preservation has funded, so many of the projects.
Right. Okay. Good. Jack, thank you so
Okay.
much for
Sure.
getting this moving, so.
and I'll report back as, with more details on installation and cost,
Great.
so. Will we have a project, will I have to have someone propose a project for, let's see what the budget
I
is,
think,
guess,
I think the
yeah.
way I'd like to handle that is we'll present it as I guess a board-sponsored project in that sense. We've already allocated administrative funds for that. I think we have administrative funds that haven't been spent from previous years. So we'll just review the budget, sign locations, and get a
Okay.
thumbs up and get it moving so that in
Okay.
the spring these things are installed, so.
Yeah, wonderful. All right,
think that'd be great.
thanks.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, we have no new business to discuss, is the meeting minutes. Can I get a motion on the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes from October 20th meeting as drafted.
All right, one note on my end, I think actually, Ron, I think your last name is spelled incorrectly. It's R-U-D-I-S, right?
It is.
Not R-O, okay, so if we could just reflect that change.
Why didn't I notice that?
That would probably be the, as someone who has his last name misspelled quite a bit, I'm sensitive to it, so if we could just make that change, but other than that.
I don't think anybody's name is spelled right.
Fair, right? Yeah, you must lose the S a lot, right, on yours?
Mine is all,
Mine's pretty easy.
Yeah, right. All right, so all those in favor, Jack and Tracy are ineligible to vote, so Tim?
As amended, I second the motion.
Yeah. Rick?
Approved.
Ron?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I am a yes. And can I get a final motion for the night?
To adjourn. So moved.
Motion to adjourn?
Yep, thank you very
Second.
much. That's what I was looking for. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone. So our next meeting, recall, is December 8th. We'll be.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
You too. Thank you, Tracy, you too.
Thank you.